Donald Trump may have lost his New York City criminal case, but the delays in his criminal prosecutions in Florida and Georgia are dealing him a pretty winning hand. Today in Georgia, the state's Court of Appeals put the election conspiracy prosecution against Trump on hold until at least October, when the court takes up Trump's motion to disqualify Fulton County DA Fani Willis. And then down in Florida, in Trump's federal criminal prosecution over his handling of classified documents, Judge Aileen Cannon continues to entertain a very long list of specious arguments to dismiss this case entirely. In the next hearing later this month, Trump's attorneys will argue that Jack Smith's appointment as special counsel was unconstitutional. Judge Cannon is not only taking valuable court time to hear a matter that's already been adjudicated in other courts, she's also taking the remarkable step of allowing lawyers who are not part of the case to come to court and join in on the oral arguments. Joining me now to help understand what is happening here, my good friend Joyce Vance, former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama and co-host of the Sisters-in-Law podcast. Joyce, Mary McCord was on Chris Hayes' show earlier and said she had never in her career seen something like what Judge Cannon is doing right now, inviting effectively guest conservative lawyers to come to the court and sing their song. How unusual is this in your estimation?
Right. So Mary and I talked about this earlier today, and we are hard-pressed to think of any situation where a district court judge, a trial court judge, not only entertained these amicus briefs from non-parties, but then permitted them to come into court and argue their case. It's like inviting random folks in off the street who don't have a stake in the case to come and express their views. You know, you extremely rarely will see this with a government entity, perhaps the Justice Department in a case between private litigants where the government has a stake in the issues. But this is just a little bit off the wall, to put it politely. And this is a judge who has complained that she can't set a trial date in this case because she has such a backlog of motions. Here she's taking a day just to hear one issue in a motion that could have just as easily been decided after she read the briefs. Trial judges only hear oral argument if there are outstanding issues that they have concerns about after reading the briefs. Here, all of the issues are adequately addressed in the briefs submitted by the parties.
Does it suggest to you that she's looking for a way to dismiss the case? And I know this all seems far-fetched, but everything she's done so far seems far-fetched. I mean, do you think this is her way out of this case?
So I don't think the amicus give her ammunition she doesn't otherwise have. There's a District of Columbia Court of Appeals decision from the Mueller investigation era that says this form of appointing a special counsel is constitutional. End of story. The Court of Appeals reached that decision unanimously. They didn't struggle in their opinion. But it's fair for Judge Cannon, who's in a different circuit, the 11th Circuit, that hasn't decided that issue, to make her own independent decision. That doesn't require a couple of days of hearings that include this sort of unusual amicus proceeding in order to get there. And here's the reality, by the way. If she dismisses the case on this basis, Jack Smith will go straight to the 11th Circuit. I bet you he already has the notice of appeal sitting on his desk just in case she rules that way, so he can jump onto it. I don't think it will take the Court of Appeals in Atlanta very long to reverse her if she rules that way.
Yeah, I would assume he's prepared given her track record thus far. Speaking of Court of Appeals, I got to ask your opinion of what's happening down in Georgia. I mean, to some degree, it's not that surprising that the Court of Appeals would say, let's work out this other issue and put the rest of the case on hold. But I do wonder, you know, your assessment about how imperiled Fani Willis is in terms of prosecuting this case and taking it to trial.
You know, I think it's hard to say. Judge McAfee wrote a detailed and serious opinion based on days' worth of taking evidence. He may well be affirmed ultimately by the courts of appeals in Georgia. And of course, again, the issue, as it is in southern Florida, is delay, how much time it takes before we get to a point where this case can move forward, whether it's with Fani Willis at the helm or someone else.
Do you have a sense, Joyce, of, you know, when we talk about any of these cases getting back on track, do you have any assessment? What are you most hopeful about? There are three big ones that are effectively sort of in various states of limbo. Do you have a lead horse, if any?
So hopeful is a little bit of a tough word here. I think, you know, the case that we would all like to see tried is the case about January 6th, the case that impacts each of our rights as Americans and whether or not a former president tried to deny our right to cast a vote. And that case could get on track depending on what the Supreme Court does and how quickly they do it. But of course, the Florida case, the Southern District of Florida case, is extraordinarily serious because it involves how a candidate for the presidency mishandled classified information in some potentially catastrophic ways. I think it's extremely unlikely that we'll see a trial in that case before the end of the year. But, you know, the interesting thing is we all, I think, buy into the Trump narrative, right? That these cases won't get to trial, that it's too late, forget it. Everything is about what voters do. And that's very true in a sense. Voters will ultimately make a decision on Trump's fitness to serve. But if Trump is not elected, these cases will go to trial shortly after the first of the year. And that's one way of bringing this situation to a close and seeking justice.
Yes, and that's exactly sort of the intention of my question. We shouldn't dismiss these cases as wiped away in November, because if Joe Biden wins, Donald Trump's going to trial more than once.